Online, on your mobile and your smart speaker. This is WINOL News.
Good afternoon and welcome to WINOL Radio. I'm Molly Keane. Coming up today, a local peregrine becomes the talk of Winchester, uni students travel to Chichester in this year's varsity, and will an English Parliament be coming to the city? But first, Winchester has seen an increase in house prices this spring. Anyone hoping to become a first-time homeowner might struggle in the current climate. I went to find out more. Standing here on Winchester High Street, it's easy to understand why the Sunday Times named it as one of the best places to live. Bustling shops, busy restaurants, and friendly street performers all contribute to a buzzing atmosphere. But although the historic city is the dream location for many, new data from estate agents Rightmove found that it's the fourth most expensive city when it comes to getting on the property ladder. This comes only a month after research by Bird & Co solicitors found that house prices in Winchester had the sixth largest increase in the UK. Sales manager Alexandra Green from a local Winchester estate agency gave the following advice to WINOL listeners who are trying to get on the property ladder. Her words are voiced by a producer.
My advice to any first-time buyers would be to firstly speak to a mortgage broker, as opposed to going straight to the bank. You will then get more catered options with regards to your borrowing, and you may find a better deal. I would also suggest building good relationships with local agents. The more you share about yourself and what you like, the better able agents are be able to find you suitable options. Communication is key. And most importantly, just view as much as you can. You can only learn about the market and what you get for your money by physically viewing things. The more you view, the more you know.
I spoke to some residents on the high street to find out how they felt about the increase in property prices and whether it will affect their community.
It'll mean that it's going to be more privileged and able to look after the people like myself who have been here for a long time and can afford to live here. It's not my policy, but that's what will happen.
I mean, Winchester's already quite an old place to live, which obviously has an impact on the atmosphere, I suppose impact on the overall feeling of the city.
There'll be more couch surfing, more homelessness. Housing shouldn't be seen as an investment.
I'm from Dublin and I have to figure out where I'm going, and ideally I'd want to stay where I'm at uni and but now I have to figure out somewhere else because it is too expensive.
Winchester's house prices were only beaten by 3 other cities. London is the most expensive, followed by St Albans, and then Cambridge is at number 3. Molly Keane, Winchester News Online. And now with all the latest headlines, here's Alexandra Stapleton.
It's reported British soldiers could be deployed to Gaza to help offload shipments of aid. The US is building a temporary pier so vessels can dock, but American military officials don't want to use their troops to transport supplies on the ground. It's claimed British forces would be used to drive aid to a secure distribution area on the shore, but retired Army General Major General Tim Cross has some questions.
Where are they delivering it to on the shore? How secure is that base? And things like, what are their rules of engagement if something happens, if they find themselves under fire? Because Hamas might well want to stir the pot a bit on this.
UK officials have declined to comment on the reports. The King will be returning to some public duties after taking time off for cancer treatment. Buckingham Palace says His Majesty's medical team are very encouraged by the progress he's made since starting outpatient care in February. One of his first engagements will be to visit a cancer centre with the Queen on Tuesday. The Telegraph's royal correspondent, India McTaggart, says the monarch will be looking forward to getting back to work.
We know that he's been raring to go. He really wants to get back to the bread and butter of royal engagements, shaking people's hands, meeting people. It's what he loves to do. So I think he'll be very, very excited at this managed return.
A man's died and 8 people have been treated in hospital following the discovery of an unusually strong batch of heroin circulating in North Devon. 2 men and 2 women have been arrested on suspicion of being involved in supplying a controlled substance. Police declared a major incident which has now been stood down, and they say they believe the threat is now contained. In local news, 6 months after a cannabis factory was discovered in a former Winchester city centre nightclub in Upper Brook Street has now been marketed. Vodka Bar and nightclub was raided by police back in November 20th, when a large number of cannabis plants were located in a room at the back. The property is now being marketed by Goadsby for a price of £1.1 million, or £100,000 a year in rent. The police arrested a man from Winchester after the cannabis factory was found. However, a police spokesman said the man is on bail until May 20th as the investigation is still ongoing. Scotland's First Minister says he's written to a rival politician who defected from his party, asking for support as he tries to retain control of Holyrood. Ash Regan stood against him in the SNP leadership election before leaving for Alex Salmond's Alba party. Humza Yousaf is facing 2 no-confidence votes after he broke a coalition power-sharing deal with the Scottish Greens. Pollster Mark Diffley thinks that's left him in a weak position.
He is swapping the support of kind of 7 MSPs, the 7 Green MSPs, for the hope of securing the vote of 1 MSP. So you can see the arithmetic is really hard. But yes, whichever way he jumps is risky.
That's the latest. I'm Alexandra Stapleton.
The wildlife in Winchester has been diverse and lively for many years, catching the attention of locals. But one bird of prey that's been inhabiting the city for over a century has become the talk of the town in recent weeks. Morgan Mitchell-Banks went to find out why.
The call of the peregrine has been present in Winchester for a few years now, but recently a new face has hit the scene. A new female peregrine, now known as Mel, was spotted at the cathedral grounds and quickly caught the attention of the people of Winchester. But why are locals so interested in this bird of prey? Well, I spoke to Keith Betton of the Hampshire Ornithological Society to answer exactly that.
Well, peregrines have had a tough time over the years. They suffered very badly from egg collectors in Victorian days. In the 1960s, the population was down to around 350 pairs. There were none in England, in the south, and the birds had actually gone from all the nesting sites that we knew them. And I just think that because of that, the fact that they've returned and now they live alongside us, people actually find peregrines really very, very interesting and very appealing.
Mel came to the cathedral in February and was named after Melusina Trench, an Irish poet, writer and social campaigner who fought against social issues such as child labour and prison reform in the 18th century. And her introduction to Winchester has been nothing short of dramatic.
Winnie and Chester were the original pair that I first noticed in 2011. This year, Winnie and Chester were back at their nest ledge, and then one day, this new female peregrine appeared out of nowhere, and she basically had an altercation with Winnie. We don't know if she actually physically killed Winnie or whether Winnie just simply died in what happened. I mean, for all I know, they could have grappled with each other in the sky and crashed to the ground. I just don't know. But all I do know is that Winnie died and Mel, the new bird, appeared.
Mel took the place of the previous female peregrine Winnie in the nest at the cathedral, which left all the locals in anticipation as they waited to see whether she would mate with the cathedral's male peregrine William. And after a month-long wait, Mel laid her first 3 eggs in the nest this month and had been incubating them ready for hatching in May. But a strange turn of events has occurred since.
The drama has been just non-stop at this nest. So this morning, we discovered that 2 of the eggs have actually got pushed off the tray during the night. And this presumably is when she was maneuvering herself around in the dark. So we've just made the decision to put the eggs back on the tray because they've not been off for more than about 5 hours. So there is a tiny, tiny chance that they might still hatch if we can get her back to incubate them. I don't even know how she's going to react to us putting the eggs back on the tray. She may well reject them, but at least we're giving her a second chance.
Mel has had a dramatic start to life in Winchester so far, so be sure to keep an eagle eye on how Mel and her eggs progress in the coming weeks. Morgan Mitchell-Banks, Winchester News Online.
You can see how Mel and her eggs are progressing on the Peregrine livestream via the Winchester Cathedral website. Last week, St George's Day was celebrated both here in England and around the world. On this symbolic occasion, a group of political campaigners met in Winchester to introduce a new vision for English democracy. Elliot McVie has more.
Ever since devolved parliaments were introduced to Scotland and Wales by the Blair government, a group known as the Campaign for an English Parliament, or the CEP, have been arguing that England deserves its own parliament too. On Wednesday night, two of the group's activists were at the Ark on Jury Street to introduce the Winchester Proposal, a new idea for an English parliament based in the city. Now, because of a lower than expected turnout, the events didn't quite go ahead in full, but Chairman Steve Davis did outline why he thought a parliament for England is necessary, drawing attention to what he perceives as a lack of English cultural representation.
And also culturally, England has been forgotten. It's been left way behind. We have the British monarchy, even though the British monarchy doesn't exist. It's an English monarchy and a Scottish joint monarchy, they're separate.
Opponents of the idea have in the past argued that it would create two classes of MPs in the House of Commons, and that it would be better to have devolution on a regional level rather than a nationwide English Parliament. The CEP have their own vision as to what Westminster could look like under their plan, as campaigner Matanza Fedora explained.
That we would also be hoping to make a legal distinction between British and English matters by turning the city of Westminster, which is halfway there already, into something more like a American-style federal district, such as Washington, D.C.
I asked Matanza why Winchester would be a suitable spot for the English Parliament to be based.
Well, Winchester is historically not only the original capital, but the literal birthplace of England as a nation. If you go down to Hamo Thornycroft's statue of Alfred the Great, for instance, the inscription reads, "The founder of the kingdom, the name," and it abbreviates on the somewhat, but the language, culture, and people of England.
In previous years, the campaign was invited to the Houses of Parliament, and often appeared in national media. Recently though, the attention has started to dry up, but the CEP will be hoping this new proposal will revitalise their campaign for an English Parliament. Elliot McVie, Winchester News Online.
Behind the red carpet, this is your WINOL Entertainment Update.
Actor Dominic Purcell has revealed that he cracked his skull while filming in Morocco. He says he was sure that he was going to die after he was hurt by an iron bar on set. The Prison Break star also shared a photo of his injuries on Instagram. He hasn't gone into detail about when or how it happened. Taylor Swift says she's completely floored by the response of her new album. She became the first artist to claim 12 #1 records in the 21st century in the UK charts on Friday. The Tortured Poets Department is now also Spotify's most streamed album in a single week, passing 1 billion mark. The stars told her Instagram followers that her mind is blown by all the love. Ewan McGregor reckons Hollywood has evolved from the boys' club it once was. The actor rose to fame in the 90s with Trainspotting and has since played a number of major roles, including Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars. He thinks the film industry became more inclusive over the years, and it certainly feels a lot healthier.
Women playing much more of a role in all of the filmmaking process, because it was really boysy before. It was, it's not for me to say almost whether we've got there yet, probably not, but we're definitely on the right track.
Janet Jackson is to perform in the UK for the first time since 2019. The US singer has announced her dates, Together Again tour gigs. She is celebrating 50 years in the entertainment business. They will be in Birmingham, London, Glasgow and Manchester from the end of September. Her last show was here in Glastonbury in 2019. In more local news, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Pink Floyd's well-loved album The Dark Side of the Moon, Winchester Science Centre opened its doors on the weekend to showcase an emotional and heartfelt tribute. Its planetarium followed a journey through the stars alongside 10 tracks from the album inside their 360-dome experience. Winchester University is also putting on their annual showcase. This year it is called Women on the Verge of a Mental Breakdown. It will be performed on the 10th of May at 2 p.m. and will be running until the 11th at 7:30. But what exactly is it about?
So, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown is a very vibrant show set in Madrid, set in the late 80s. It's all about miscommunication and romance and passion and just trying to cope with things when nothing is going your way. And as the title suggests, no one is able to cope with it. And it's all crazy.
That's all we have time for. Izzy Paul, Winchester News Online.
Now Izzy can tell us more about the upcoming showcase at the University of Winchester.
Winchester University students are putting on their annual showcase. This year the piece is called Women on the Verge of a Mental Breakdown. It tells the stories about a series of women, all very different but all going through tragedies in some way or another.
So, Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown is a very vibrant show set in Madrid, set in the late 80s. It's all about miscommunication and romance and passion and just trying to cope with things when nothing is going your way. And as the title suggests, no one is able to cope with it. And it's all crazy.
It is a final chance for students in the acting and musical theatre degrees to showcase their hard work and talent.
My name is Baya, and I'm playing Carlos, who's a young man who's gonna get married, but he turns some twists and turns and gets tangled up in something, and yeah.
My name is Aoife. I'm playing the taxi driver. They are sort of the narrator character of the show, always present but never really adding anything. And they're sort of this agent of chaos, sort of manipulating the set and trying to make a real connection with the audience and trying to see what they see, trying to see this very deep passion that they have for Madrid and just Spain in general and everything that's going on around them.
Hello, I'm Emily and I'm playing the part of Paulina Morales. She is a lawyer who's a feminist with a deep passion inside underneath her cold demeanour. She's also having an affair with one of her clients who she's supposed to be suing, which is an interesting twist in the tale. It's supposed to be a satire comedy set in Madrid. Very fun, vibrant and exciting with a few twists and turns along the way.
Opening night is the 10th of May at 2 p.m. and will be running until the last show on the 11th at 7:30 p.m. Izzy Paul, Winchester News Online.
Sports update.
Here's the latest sport roundup with Guy Nicklinson.
Nottingham Forest will discover the outcome of their appeal against a points deduction for breaking financial rules in the coming days. They'll be told the verdict from last week's hearing after contesting a 4-point punishment. A 2-0 defeat against Manchester City yesterday means they remain just 1 point above the Premier League's relegation zone. Manager Nuno Espirito Santo is keen to have some clarity.
We are all waiting on that decision. Hopefully this is very soon so we can deal again with the reality. We don't know exactly how many points we have. If it's the appeal, if we have 26, 28, 30, it will make a big difference. It's for everybody, not only for us, for all the league.
Tottenham captain Heung-min Son says they can compete with the best, despite a 3-2 defeat against rivals Arsenal in the Premier League. Spurs were 3-0 down at half-time and, despite a second-half fight-back, were unable to avoid defeat. It leaves them 7 points behind 4th place Aston Villa in the fight for Champions League qualification. But Son tells Sky Sports News he thinks they were as good as Arsenal.
Look, I mean, they're top, but if I'm be honest, I think with the ball, I think we were competing. We were competing, to be honest, and especially in the first half, even they were 3-0 up, and we were dominating the game and positions.
British number 1 Cameron Norrie plays Casper Ruud for a place in the last 16 of the Madrid Open Tennis today. 22-time Grand Slam champion Rafa Nadal's also in action against Pedro Cachin. Wimbledon winner Carlos Alcaraz was among those to make it through yesterday. He says he's looking forward to a repeat of last year's final against Jan-Lennard Struff.
I know that I have to play at my best if I want to beat him. Big shots, big serve. I have to be really focused on the return, putting as much ball in as I can, and being there in the rally. But it's going to be a difficult one.
A record number of people have applied to take part in next year's London Marathon. More than 840,000 applicants have been received, smashing the previous high from last year's ballot by 262,000 entries. Runners will find out if they have a place through the ballot in July. Running with others has become a noticeable trend recently across social media platforms, with completing a half marathon a tempting challenge for many. Winchester Parkrun's running director says he believes social media groups and tracking apps such as Strava are having a positive influence on runners.
You connect with your mates and then you compare runs and you leave comments and chat, and I think it's quite motivating. It's for me anyway, sometimes too motivating. Sometimes when you're running you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to go on Strava and people are going to see it, so I better keep my pace up. And the other way it's important, Parkrun is on Facebook. There's a lot of communication on Facebook about runs that are coming up. So the parkrun itself posts news, and then there are other parkrun groups. Different people that tour parkruns have their own parkrun groups. So there's a lot of Facebook type stuff as well.
That's all your latest sport. Back to you.
Guy can now tell us more about running culture and how social media is having an impact.
According to Sports Shoes running report last month, 1 in 10 runners across the UK have taken part in a parkrun, and another 1 in 10 have completed a half marathon. Parkrun is a free community 5k event that takes place every week in locations all over the UK. I spoke to participants at Winchester Parkrun and asked them whether they thought social media was having an impact on runners.
It's really inspiring to see loads of people that from all walks of different life, and I think for a lot of people on social media, there's a lot of lurker mentality at the minute. So a lot of people kind of taking note of what's out there that may be less engaging, but when it comes to running and fitness, I think a lot of people, that's the area where a lot of people want to find a community and they want to be motivated, I guess, by all sorts of different people.
I think, especially in the 20s, everyone's on TikTok and Instagram, and if you start watching one running video, then it just, the algorithm just gives you more and more and more. And then, that's how I got started. I was like, I want to be involved and post my stuff on Strava and run faster than my last Strava, and for sure, it's definitely having an influence on the younger generation, for sure.
According to Sports Shoes report, those who regularly share their running time on social media or apps such as Strava complete a 5k nearly 10 minutes quicker than those who rarely do. So I asked the running director for his thoughts on Strava and social media groups.
Strava, the running recording app, is becoming more sociable because it has kind of messaging and things in it now, which is a new thing. And obviously you connect with your mates and then you compare runs and you leave comments and chat, and I think it's quite motivating. It's for me anyway, sometimes too motivating. Sometimes when you're running you're thinking, oh my God, this is going to go on Strava and people are going to see it, so I better keep my pace up. And the other way it's important, Parkrun is on Facebook. There's a lot of communication on Facebook about runs that are coming up.
A huge 55% of people who run with others say it motivates them more than running alone. I asked a runner whether she thought this is the case.
Yeah, definitely. I moved to Winchester a few months ago and I don't know anybody, but I knew about Parkrun. I've never done one before, so it's the first time I came, and I knew that one of the main reasons for me coming is not just because I love running, but because I wanted to meet other people. And within about 2 minutes of arriving, I was already welcomed by one of the volunteers, and then someone else came up to me and started chatting, and he's a tourist, so it's really nice. So I think that's a huge part of it, so definitely it is encouraging.
Winchester Parkrun is proving to be a great place for runners to meet new people and work towards their running goals. And whilst runners should be careful not to push themselves too hard trying to compete with others, it seems that social media groups and tracking apps go far towards creating a positive group environment, according to runners here at Winchester Parkrun. Guy Nicklinson, Winchester News Online.
The Football Association has come under fire for its decision to change the format of its most prestigious competition, the FA Cup. Reece Huggett is here to explain.
The FA Cup, the most prestigious domestic club competition in the world. But this historic cup has just lost part of its heritage. Last week, the FA announced that they would be scrapping replays in the tournament. Clubs up and down the country have spoken out against the decision. National League side Eastleigh came out with a statement saying,
Eastleigh Football Clubs join the wider football community in condemning the disgraceful actions today by the FA and the Premier League. In the modern game where clubs are struggling up and down the country, a source of significant income has been taken away of only concentration, while 20 teams see the luxury benefits of multi-billion-pound broadcasting rights.
Several other teams in the local area have joined Eastleigh in their comments.
Yeah, I think it's really poor. I sort of share the general consensus of the footballing community, really.
Winchester City manager Craig Davis explains.
You know, it sort of makes sense to clubs at the the highest level, but any club that is from League 2 down and in the non-league pyramid, if you get that chance to get a replay against a big side, you want to take that opportunity. So, yeah, I think it's really poor, and I hope the FA rethink it.
Winchester City played fellow non-league side Maidstone, who made it all the way to the 5th round this year, picking up a substantial financial boost, amassing hundreds of thousands of pounds in their giant-killing conquest. Finances are huge for non-league teams.
Getting through is massive, but to have that gate of a replay, I think Horsham had a replay against, was it Barnsley or someone like that. There's been a lot of, like you say, replays that does create an awful lot of funding that is desperately needed at non-league levels.
Romsey coach Tom Newman says fixture pile-up isn't just a problem for Premier League teams.
You see, like Pep Guardiola had his little rant about the fixture pile-up and that. It's like I said earlier, they still choose to do hot weather training whenever they can, fly out to Dubai. Got the lads at Fareham in the Wessex League who have played 15 games this month. They've all got to go work the next day, haven't they?
Despite pressure to reintroduce replays, the FA doubled down and released another statement.
Removing Emirates FA Cup replays was discussed in the early meetings, and all parties accepted that they could not continue. The discussions then focused on how to make all of our competitions stronger, despite having fewer dates available and wanting to maintain player welfare.
But lower league teams are left wondering where they were when this was discussed. Rhys Huggett, Winchester News Online.
And now for some uni sport, as the yearly varsity event takes place tomorrow. Winchester travelled to Chichester to battle it out in various sporting events. Joel Marriott, who is taking part tomorrow in one of 2 football games, is here to tell us what we can expect from them. So Joel, how are things looking forward into the 2 games?
Yeah, they're looking positive. The 2s and 3s this year both won their leagues, and the 1sts and the 4ths had strong finishes in their leagues as well. So, yeah, we're feeling confident, and yeah, it's looking positive.
So you are feeling pretty confident going into the game then?
Yeah, like I said, we've all had good seasons. We want to go out there, put in good performances, hopefully come away with 2 wins, but overall, put in a good performance.
What would wins mean to both the teams?
Obviously, it would be massive because it would mean that the third years this year is their last sort of time playing for the uni, so they can go out there, get some wins, end their 3 years at uni on a high, and yeah, we could contribute to the points total and hopefully win varsity overall.
Thanks, Joel. Let's all hope for a Winchester win. Now, last year, the government announced that it will cancel all plans for new smart motorways due to the lack of public confidence and cost pressures. However, those remaining are still causing problems, with the technology having been revealed to be failing on a regular basis. The demand for the hard shoulders to return is at an all-time high. Are these motorways really that safe and smart? Alexandra Stapleton tells us more.
If you've been on a long journey recently, it's more than likely you have ended up on a smart motorway. Originally designed to help control the flow of traffic and ease congestion by removing the hard shoulder and converting them into an extra lane, and using technology to regulate the traffic with speed cameras and overhead gantries to direct the drivers. These may sound like a good idea at first, however there is a looming question above drivers' heads, which is, what do I do if I break down? A question that challenges how safe these smart motorways really are. I spoke to Claire Mercer, who leads a campaign to bring back the hard shoulder. After losing her husband Jason and another driver, Alexandra Maganu, who were killed by a lorry who crashed into their vehicles on a live lane on the M1 in 2019 after they stopped due to a minor collision.
Well, when I first started, barely anyone, including myself, knew what a smart motorway was. And if they had any idea at all, they thought it was to do with the cameras and fines. So they thought it was all to do with getting fines. Motorways, which are already dangerous, they've taken away the hard shoulder and made them more dangerous and said that this tech helps. And then the tech stops working and they don't tell us. I don't understand why a shop has to tell you their floor is wet, but the national highways don't have to tell you that the motorway is even more dangerous than ever.
The National Highway provided me with a statement on the matter.
They were introduced to provide extra capacity on some of our busiest and most congested sections of motorway, and the latest data shows that overall, in terms of serious or fatal casualties, smart motorways are our safest roads.
I asked the residents of Winchester what they believe are the main issues surrounding smart motorways.
I think they're very dangerous. The whole purpose of them is to save money, not to save lives.
It's just so dangerous. I just think they're utter death traps. They should be banned.
I believe smart motorways aren't that smart. I think they're dangerous. The thought of breaking down on a live lane is really, really scary.
Having been introduced in 2010, the smart motorways have faced heavy criticism for the increased likelihood of people who stop on them being killed than if they stopped on a hard shoulder. Tony Chick, the admin of the Facebook group Ban the Smart Motorway Now, had this to say.
I honestly think that somebody should be made responsible for allowing these things to go ahead in the first place because of the danger element and the fact that you're creating a motorway system without a lifeline, an imprisonable offence. I can't believe that you could allow that to happen.
As the technology which drivers rely on to keep them safe regularly fail, it's instead putting them at risk. Will the government stick to their word, and will the hard shoulders make their return? Alexandra Stapleton, Winchester News Online.
That's all your latest news for this afternoon. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Online, on your mobile and your smart speaker. This is WINOL News.